This video shows a bottom-up assembly design. First, I want to create a new folder so we can have all of the files saved in this new folder. Then make sure you can follow the naming conventions to have the part name updated accordingly. Make sure your part name is consistent with the file name. Always make sure you use a Ctrl S to periodically save the file. Your part name should always be consistent with the file name. As you have more and more files opened, make sure you pay attention to the file you want to save when you use the save management. Do not overwrite any of your previous files. At this moment, we have all of the files saved in this new folder. Now it is time to start the assembly design. Always make sure that you name this product at the very beginning by following the naming conventions. Again, your product name should be your file name as well. This time, the file is saved as an extension cat product. You always have to right-click the name on top of the tree to locate the part file you want to import into the assembly design. Make sure you use the existing component to have all of the parts imported into the assembly design workbench. Use the manipulation icon to pull out the parts in either direction, X or Y or Z. Make sure they are visible on your current screen. After it, you can see we have 2 brackets and 2 bushing. So you can right-click to copy and then move back to the top of the tray to paste, so you can have 2 brackets and 2 bushing included in this assembly. Next, we want to use a snap to change the orientation of the base. After it, we can use the fix icon to fix the base. This is very important because it helps to control the final orientation of the assembly. After you fix the base, you want to use the constraint toolbar to have all of the parts constrained in the proper position. First, I want to take care of the bracket. The bracket should be on top of the base, so you can use the contact constraint and the coincidence constraint to have the 2 parts constrained appropriately. And then we can do the constraints between the other bracket and the base. Make sure you understand what constraints you want to use. Always use the constraints to manipulate the position of the parts. Next, we want to do the bushing and the bracket. So between the bushing and the bracket, we are going to use the contact constraint and the coincidence constraint. When you do the contact constraint, make sure you select the face. When you see the face, and you're going to see the orange color. After it, we're going to do the shaft and the bushing. So between the shaft and the bushing, you can do the coincidence and the contact constraint. Finally, we're going to take care of the roller. To the roller, you can do the coincidence constraint and either the offset constraint or the contact constraint, since the length of the roller is consistent with the distance between the two bushing. So either the offset or the contact will work. In this case, we use the offset constraint. Remember, all of the parts were created in the inch, so always double check your unit, make sure that you have the correct unit. Here we use the measure icon to determine the length of the roller, determine the spacing between the two bushing. And then we decided to use the offset constraint to align the roller to the face of the bushing. Always make sure you use the update icon to update the current operation. You can also use the Control U. Now it is time to test the constraints applied to the assembly by using the explode icon and the manipulation icon. So to use the explode, we can temporarily explode all of the parts and to see if all of the parts can be back to their original position. By using the manipulation, especially with the rotation, we can change the orientation of every single part and then continue to use the update icon to update the constraints to make sure we have all of the constraints applied to the parts. At this moment, if you realize that any constraints missing, make sure that you continue to constrain the parts, continue to test the parts as well. Now it is time to generate the exploded view. To do the exploded view, we want to use the manipulation icon and the quick view, including the isometric and the side view, to have the parts spaced out. Use the enhanced scene icon to generate the exploded view. Make sure you want to switch to the full view mode. Pay attention to the icon you want to use to confirm the exploded view. Use generator numbering to label the parts by right-click the name on top of the tray. After it, you can generate a bill of material by clicking the bill of material under the Analyze. You can also name the bill of material to generate a TXT file. You can move all of the unused property to the right side. You can move all of the needed property to the left window area. The second window area is not needed. You can move all of the property to the right. After you finish the bill of material, you finished this assembly work. Thank you for watching.